Hello, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on your location. This is Leadership Talk with Adegoke, the 72nd podcast. Yes, 72nd podcast. And I'm sharing the platform with my friend uh, Arosa Osemegwe. It's a massive leader on HR, showing up. His pedigree is just awesome, and a very humble gentleman. We've known ourselves for years, and is operating really strong in the HR space. And we're looking at leadership and HR. Leadership and how are you, my friend?
Very well, very well. And thanks for having me. Thanks for the work you are doing through this podcast. Greetings to viewers from all around the world. It is indeed a pleasure to be with you today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now tell us, who is Arosa?
Okay. So my name is Arosa Osemege. I have, if I look at my day job in the last about 20 years has been around HR, which is my formal career.
Well done.
Whether it's working in the HR department of an organization, or whether it is supporting diverse organizations as a consultant. And then what I like to refer to as my night job, if I may, which has really been built or drawn from uh, a passion and to be who I believe I am, has been around customer experience consulting, career success coaching,
Hmm.
particularly at the time when it wasn't necessarily fashionable to be one, and
Yeah.
also writing and authoring. I'm privileged to have authored 4 books.
Hmm.
Two of them can be found on Amazon by anybody from around the world. So,
Well done.
for across 7 years, I did some writing for The Guardian in Nigeria,
Hmm.
writing on leadership, people management, HR, customer experience, youth development, nation building, and so on and so forth. I also I consider myself privileged to have had some learning experience that has helped to shape me, whether it's from the Lagos Business School in Nigeria or the Harvard Business School in Boston, US as well. So that is a simple. I mean, if you wanted a sentence about Aros, I would just say that I think I'm really about supporting individuals and organizations to extend themselves beyond themselves, or to exceed the excellence that exists within them. So using the
Awesome.
medium of speaking, coaching, writing,
Training.
consulting, yes,
Yeah.
and training, yes.
Awesome. Awesome.
Thank
It's
you.
so good to have you on the platform.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'm so thrilled to have this opportunity to share this session with you, particularly on
Thank you.
HR. I'm also, uh, an HR practitioner. I'm a full member of the
Yes.
Chartered Institute of Personnel Management. You are also a member as well, and
Yes.
you
Yes.
know, but I'm not encroaching into your space. But
Oh
you know,
no.
I'll just well, I can say that when it comes to leadership in that area, I want to see
Yes.
that leadership of HR to you. I'm also in the customer service area,
Yes.
with my book,
Yes.
Customer Retention Experiential Approach.
Yes.
We've had
Awesome book.
sessions. Yeah, awesome. Yeah. So, in fact, we've just done the fourth reprint, and it's,
Wow.
yeah, the journey started 12 years ago, and it's on Amazon. So, I mean, we're collaborating, and
Yes,
I
indeed.
look forward
Yes,
to
indeed.
more sessions together. Now, tell
Yes,
us,
indeed.
how did you get into leadership? What brought you into leadership?
Okay, thanks. For me, I think the what you may call the aha moment or the turning point in knowing exactly what leadership is was my
Hmm.
encounter with a book called 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John C. Maxwell. I got a hold of the book and I read it from evening. I did not sleep. I didn't blink till the next morning.
Wow.
That was what you may call my experience in what really leadership is. Even though in my life, of course, I've seen leaders. I've been in and around leaders, particularly around Africa. And I read this book at about the time where I suddenly found myself thrust into a leadership role as the youth leader in a church here in Nigeria.
Okay.
And so you will say that began to shape for me. And then years later on, after I'd done some time as a consultant, I became the head of HR of an organization in Apapa in Nigeria here.
Okay.
And you will say that those were what you may call my formative years as a leader. And then I've gone on from there to whether it's leadership as an influence or leadership in terms of positional leadership, either as even the founder of organizations myself. It's been that, you may say, is a very simple summarized version of my leadership journey.
Wow, awesome.
Yes,
That's amazing. Amazing. Now, what do you think leadership is? What do you think leadership is? Can you just define leadership from your own perspective?
So I would say that leadership is about showing people a new direction and giving them the courage to move in that direction.
Wow.
Showing them a new direction and giving them the courage to move in that direction. Yes, to move in that direction.
I was just having a session with someone recently, and I said,
okay,
I had, this, definition from someone who came on my podcast. Her name is Yvonne Johnson, and we did the session on leadership and strategy. And she said leadership is carrying the vision and communicating the vision to the followers in a manner that they're able to implement that vision. Leadership is carrying the vision and communicating that vision.
The vision.
In a manner that is able to be implemented by the followers.
By follower. I like that. I like that.
Yeah,
I like that
because it's not it's not all leaders that are able to, communicate that vision, to
very
their
true.
followers. Yeah,
I have to agree, because even recently I was reading. There's a leader on LinkedIn that we are connected, and I realized I was a bit uncomfortable. He talks regularly about. He's the CEO of an organization, and he talks regularly about strategy. I'm just building on what you said about Yvonne said now. He talks a lot about strategy, about execution. But I don't see him talking about the people, which is what, Yvonne was saying. Talking about the people that we carry, that you need to communicate so that they can carry.
Yes.
If you talk about execution and you don't shine the light on the people, you can lose sight of the people that are central to the execution.
Wow. That's so good. If you just joined us on this podcast, this is Leadership Talk with Adegoke, and I have with me my good friend and my brother, Arosa, is an HR senior leader, global leader, high impact performer. His pedigree is, 110% above and beyond, and we're looking at leadership and HR.
Yes.
Once again, I want you to share this podcast with as many people as possible, and listen and take notes, because there's a lot of nuggets being shared on this podcast. Now, I want you to please tell us, what is HR? What is HR? I know it's very wide, but in your just a few words.
Okay, let me try to do that. So HR is both is a function or a department or a profession, but more importantly, it is a practice.
Okay, all right.
Yes. So people are familiar with HR, the department, HR, a profession. Oh, so they know about human resource professionals, human resource practitioners. They know about the human resource department that handles several things. But I think sometimes we lose sight of HR, the practice. HR, the practice, which is really everything that leaders, supervisors, executives have to do in and around getting the most from the people that surround their vision. That practice is HR. All right. So you will find that there are many people in leadership roles who will not consider themselves an HR practitioner. They are not accurate. The immediately that you are involved in the practice of HR in one form or the other, then you are in HR. So HR is a profession made up of people, or a department that is made up of people that are focused on helping to better understand and facilitate the people dimension to any vision or to any strategy. That is the HR department or HR function. But the HR practice is where leaders focus on utilizing the potentials that lie within human assets, or that lie within teams, lie within human interactions, okay, and utilizing this to gain competitive advantage in the visions or the goals or strategy that they have set for themselves. And this is HR, whether it's in for-profit organization, this is HR, whether it's in non-profit, this is HR, whether it's in a public or private institutions, and it is HR, whether it's in Alaska, whether it's even in the moon. You know, there is a practice of HR that has been with us from the very time humanity wanted to get the most out of the dreams that they had in their hearts. So we have had HR for that length of time, and we always have HR. And even as the world continues to make sense of the world it lives in today, you know, given the unfortunate and unsettling effects of COVID, given the reset button that COVID was, you know, our lives will never remain the same for certain, because just before COVID, there were a number of factors, you know, that are driving the world that are not going to change. You know, take for example digitization. The digitization and its impact will not change in quite a long time. The world as we know it has transformed. I think that what COVID did was to hasten certain things, or you may say that what COVID did was to bring to our consciousness certain things that already existed. You know, so in that speed, we suddenly started to realize several things. And in realizing several of those things, the whole space of people management, the whole space of leaders getting the most from the talents, from the human assets that gather around the vision, whether the vision is a social enterprise, whether the vision is a profit enterprise, as with a post-COVID world, with all of what we now know and we can do, we suddenly realize that what we suddenly realize a lot of things held us back that shouldn't have held us back. Things that we debated in the past, things that we felt could not work or will never work. But what we find is that leadership and HR further comes to the fore, because, for example, within COVID, we saw how leaders communicated in certain instances and got the best from their employees during this unsettling time. We also saw negative examples as well at the same time. All right. And then some have paid dearly for it. Well, we have also seen situations where we suddenly realized that even though we've always had the potential and the capacity for remote work and a fully remote workforce, but with COVID, the debates were off the table, and it was thrust on us. And then we realized how it is very, very possible and easy for us to actually have a remote workforce. Even though digitization has been pointing us in that direction, globalization has been pointing us in that direction, the way nations have morphed into each other. We used to say that the world is a global village. Some of us think the world is now an hamlet, and COVID further proved that as well, that we are locked into each other. We are the same humanity, regardless of the colors of our skin. We are the same humanity. We have the same fears. We have the same concerns. We have the same joys, the same aspirations. And COVID really brought that to fore. And then we suddenly realized that there was capacity in humanity that had been left untapped, or all around the world. And I think one of the things that a podcast like this does, is to underscore the nexus between leadership and HR, and therefore allow that nexus to be further maximized. Thank you very much.
Wow. I'm so sorry. There was a break in transmission. Can you hear me?
Yes, I know. Yes, I know.
Yeah. Can you?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I'm so sorry. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah, I think the the network just went south.
Yes, I know.
Yes. Well, were you able to get some message across as well?
Yes, I was. I used the opportunity of you being out to continue to answer the question, and to further shed light on leadership and HR, and how what HR is, particularly what HR is today, and the opportunities that lies within the nexus of leadership and HR that the world has thrust on us. Rather unfortunate, the pandemic is just that I think the world continues to say to itself that if lemons are thrown at us, we are going to make lemonade, and that's what the whole world is doing right now.
Amazing. Now, I want you to tell us what's the implication of a leader not having an HR strategy. What's the implication?
Okay, I mean, there are, to be honest, a leader can achieve his vision without having a well-articulated HR strategy. That's true. But what the leader will never know is how far they could ever have gone. The leader will miss the opportunity to institutionalize the vision. without a HR strategy, the leader will miss the opportunity to leave generational impact.
Yeah.
Because what we simply are calling a HR strategy, just for simplification, is just to say, look, have a thought out plan for the culture and the type of people and how they will be maximized, how you will get the most from them. That's really what it is. So if you don't have a thought out plan, then you would have some success. That is, some might have some success, but you will achieve some of those success at one, a lot of costs, a lot of mistakes to be made. Attrition would likely happen. You will lose the opportunity to maximize people. You will lose the opportunity to keep people. You lose the opportunity to give people a transformation because they ever worked in the organization. So there are a lot of consequences, even though I'm the first to admit that it is possible to have some level of success. But if an organization is going to have sustainable future, a HR strategy is a non-negotiable.
Awesome. Now, can you share 3 things that HR leaders can do right now to raise the bar?
Okay. I think number 1 is HR leaders must be at the center of the call for healthier organizations.
Okay.
Josh Bersin released a report about the healthy organization. Even though there are a number of other leaders that have been talking about positive leadership for years. Because the idea of positive leadership came up because people realized, well, not all leadership has positive influence. Just like John C. Maxwell told all of us that leadership is all about influence. So I think the whole idea about healthy organizations built on the idea of positive leadership. So that's one thing HR leaders must do, to be at the center for pushing for healthy organizations. Number 2, related to that is also for them to, and it's related actually, for them to raise the bar on diversity, equity, and inclusiveness within the organization. Excuse me, our organizations could do more with being more human. Some people say that we probably have removed the human from human resources, and what we have been left with is resources. All right. So that's a second thing, that HR leaders must do to raise the bar. The third thing, if you say I should focus on 3, the third thing would be leadership development, or what I would prefer to call leadership cultivation. Because a lot of times when we talk about development, somebody thinks about, we send them to a 3-day course or a 5-day course, or we send them to Harvard.
That's right.
Or London Business School for training, or INSEAD and so on, and all those places. No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about where you have a deliberate plan to grow certain types of leadership behaviors in the organization. And you have to be laser focused on doing so if you are going to help to raise the bar. Thank you.
Wow. Awesome. This has been a very powerful session. Leadership Talk with Adegoke, the 72nd edition. And on the platform with my friend Arosa, is a top-rated leadership and HR expert, showing up globally and adding value locally here on Leadership Talk with Adegoke.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So this is the
Thank you.
72nd podcast, and we're looking at
Well done.
leadership
Great job.
and HR. Now, tell us, what is that one thing that you like to say to an HR leader right now?
The one thing
I know you have so many things.
when you look at life, you find that there are rarely one things, but
I know.
But we'll try. Okay, so here it is. I think at the core, a HR leader must realize that human resources is a service point. Human resources is what you may call a calling.
Okay.
If I may put it that way, it's what you may call a calling. That means that you have to appreciate that even though you are not the CEO, immediately you realize that leadership is influence.
Yeah.
You realize that as a leader who is in HR, you have influence, and then more importantly, as a leader in HR, the work we do in HR confers on you tremendous, in fact, disproportionate leverage. I don't want to use the word power, leverage that you can use to help foster more inclusive, more sustainable organizations. B, to help your organization to be a place where people love to come to grow and be better versions of themselves. And three, to help your organization, therefore, to be places where success can be replicated over and over and over again. I hope that was one thing. It seemed like it was even as I finished, I thought that sounded like a one thing that was sliced into many things.
Wow. Reproducibility. Yeah, you can reproduce success. That's awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much. I just have 2 more questions because this is been a power-packed session. I just want to salute you and celebrate you for what you're doing all over the world, adding value, particularly in this space of HR. You are, a force to be reckoned with. You have really served, and your way to into leadership, and your pedigree and your authenticity. We want to salute that as well. Now, who are your mentors?
Okay. So that's a very good question. The easiest way to answer that will be to mention people that have had, and some of them interestingly are distant, that have had a major impact on who I am and who I'm trying to become, because every day I'm trying to be a better version of myself.
I know.
Certainly is God, and I know it's it's easy to always say that, but I have to say that. Second person will be Samademi for certain. Right from my school, my university days, and right after, and to this point, I can mention several things that I've observed and learned directly that I have utilized in direct or indirect forms. Because again, I know that I am a spirit being. I know I'm in touch with my spirituality, emotions, and my physical being. So I cannot take away the influence people like Bishop D.B. Oyedepo have also played their role in forcing one to think in a certain way, and that's really it. And then I have to mention the CEO of an organization I worked in the past, Tayo Aderinokun.
Yeah.
Because I saw an African organization that obviously had a vision to be an institution, you know, and a lot of things were done that I saw firsthand. So that, you know, it continues to inspire me
Awesome.
to
Awesome.
live in a
Well
certain
done.
way. So that's just to mention a
Some
few
of your
examples.
mentors.
Yes,
Awesome.
indeed. Yeah.
Awesome. Now, in closing, if
Okay.
our listeners want to reach out to you, how can they reach out to you? What platforms? Yes.
Oh, okay. Thanks for asking. I'm so yes, I'm on Twitter. They can follow me on Twitter. I'm on IG, but I would recommend LinkedIn.
Okay.
They can always connect with me on LinkedIn, send me messages. I'm happy to respond. I have met friends through LinkedIn. We have collaborated as well, one or two people through LinkedIn. So I would recommend LinkedIn any day. Through LinkedIn, I'm connected with many colleagues and friends from all over the world as well, who are doing great stuff, whether it's in leadership, customer experience, or even in human resources. Yeah.
Awesome. You've heard it from the man, Arusa, a leadership and HR expert, shown up massively on Leadership Talk with Adegoke, the 72nd edition. We're so thankful. We're so grateful. If you're going to be listening to the replay, make sure you take notes and share this podcast. Yes. Make sure you share this podcast. The content, the nuggets is high value, high impact. And so, once again, I just want to thank our listeners all over the world for joining us on this session, Leadership and HR. You want to say bye-bye to our followers?
All right. Bye. Well, thank you for
so
having
much.
me. Thank you for logging